There is a quiet sorrow that often goes unnoticed, the pain of watching your children slowly drift away from your arms. Not because of conflict, not due to resentment or betrayal, but simply because time passes, life moves on, and children grow up. They begin to live their own lives, in their own way, and then one day, you realize, they no longer need you as they once did. This kind of sorrow is hard to name. It's not as sharp as grief, not as clear as a farewell, but it lingers. It shows up in the gaze that follows a closing door, in the quiet of a dinner table missing familiar laughter, in the holiday greetings that arrive as brief, polite messages. It is the feeling of becoming redundant in the very role that once defined your existence, being a parent. The Dharma teaches that all things are impermanent. This truth is not meant to sadden us, but to awaken us. Love, without wisdom, becomes attachment, but love, illuminated by mindfulness, becomes a source of healing. When your children leave, it doesn't mean they no longer love you. It simply means your role in their life is changing. And if you do not learn to change with them, suffering arises. The father or mother who once drove them to school, prepared every meal, worried over every step, now finds their hands empty. The routines of care turn into spaces of silence. What once kept you busy now becomes a quiet void. And in that stillness, many begin to face a deep loneliness, a very real sorrow, but also a sacred opportunity to live deeply within. The Buddha taught that suffering arises from attachment, from clinging to things we believe are forever. But nothing is forever. Our children do not belong to us. They come through us, but they are not ours to possess. They have their own destinies, their own karmic paths, their own spiritual journeys to fulfill. The more we try to hold on, the more we lose both ourselves and the sacred connection we share with them. The hardest part of love is letting go, but it is also the noblest. Letting go is not indifference. Letting go means knowing, I love my child, but I cannot live for them. I am here as a place to return to, but I will not block their path. When the mind lets go, the heart expands. When attachment fades, true understanding arises. A child's growing independence is a gift, though at first, it may arrive in the form of sadness. Their departure helps you return to yourself, to live without being bound by roles. It is not an ending, it is a rebirth. A new life can begin here, a life of mindfulness, of wisdom, of unconditional love. If you are going through this transition, know that you are not alone. Many others are learning to transform this sorrow, and the Dharma can be a light on that path. For when you begin to understand that love is not about holding, but about understanding, your heart will begin to feel light again. When your children leave, the emptiness you feel is not only in the silent rooms, but also in the quiet corners of your heart. Yet the Dharma teaches us that in this very silence, insight can begin to bloom. Impermanence is not something to fear, it is a profound truth about the nature of all things. When we see impermanence clearly, we begin to let go of our attachments. And when we are no longer clinging, we finally learn how to truly love. We often love our children instinctively with everything we have, including our worries, our control, and our expectations. We want them to be safe, successful, and happy, but deep inside, we also want them to stay close, to still need us. It's the nature of parenting. But the Buddha taught that even love, when mixed with attachment, can be a root of suffering if we are not mindful. When our children leave, this truth becomes clear. We suffer not because they've done something wrong, but because we don't want things to change. So what can we do? First, return to the breath. Every time your heart aches from missing them, take a deep breath in and a gentle breath out. The breath connects you to the present moment. It reminds you, you are still here. You haven't lost your child. You are simply entering a new chapter, one of transformation, from attachment to spacious love. Second, practice reflecting on impermanence. Look at a leaf turning yellow, a flower wilting. These are living lessons of change. Your children are no different. They too must change, grow, and follow their own paths. You can't hold a flower in your hand forever, but you can look at it with your whole heart while it blooms. And when it falls, you can smile knowing it was once so beautiful. The Buddha didn't teach us to be emotionless. He taught us to love fully, without clinging. When you accept that your children will change, will leave, you stop fighting reality. And from that place, you can begin to truly live for yourself, live with the things you love, which you may have forgotten. It might be a small joy, gardening, cooking, reading, or simply sitting under the morning sun with a cup of tea. These simple acts, though small, can become deep medicine. Don't think you've been left behind. Your child's departure is not the end of love, but the beginning of a boundless love. This love is no longer expressed through meals and bedtime routines, but through blessings, through the quiet energy of peace you send to them each day. Remember, you are not alone. Millions of parents are walking the same path. And if you open your heart and share, you will find that pain softens when it is understood. Seek out spiritual friends, mindful communities, where you can be heard and healed. Above all, know this. Accepting impermanence does not mean you lose your child. It means you hold them even more deeply in your heart. Not through control, but through mindful love. This is the first step toward inner freedom. And when you are free, your child's distance no longer feels like a loss, but like a natural part of the journey of loving well. Love is one of the most sacred values in every person's life. It brings warmth, connection, and meaning to our existence. But love does not always mean attachment. In fact, love, if not practiced correctly, can become a chain that causes suffering for both ourselves and those we love. The Dharma teaches that true love is love without possession and attachment. It is like sunlight that shines everywhere, indiscriminately, without holding back for itself. When we love our children in this way, we accept their freedom, allowing them to be themselves with their mistakes, failures, and successes. Unattached love is love that learns to let go. Letting go does not mean giving up. It means giving without conditions or expecting anything in return. When we let go, we no longer suffer from unmet desires, nor do we cause suffering to those we love through control or imposition. When children leave, it does not mean love ends. It transforms into a deeper form. When we know how to let go, we open a vast space in our hearts, allowing love to flow freely, unhindered by fear of loss or possession. The Buddha taught that attachment is the root of suffering. But attachment here is not true love, but craving, a form of clinging. If we can distinguish clearly between these, we will no longer be trapped in suffering. True love is the source of peace and happiness. A simple example. Sunlight does not hold on to a flower. It shines so the flower can live and grow. We should be like that sunlight to our children, no matter how far they go. We remain the warm light outside, not possessing, not binding, but always present with unconditional love and acceptance. Unattached love is also a lesson in learning to love ourselves. When we are not bound by the image others expect of us, we truly live freely and happily. This also helps us become a bright mirror for our children, so they learn to live fully in love without attachment in their own lives. The Dharma not only teaches theory but also guides practice. One important method is the practice of loving kindness meditation, metta bhavana. This develops unconditional love, starting with oneself and radiating to everyone, including children, whether they are near or far. When practicing metta, we nurture a deep compassion that is not affected by external circumstances, not bound by expectations or anxiety. Love is renewed daily, becoming stronger and purer. This is the foundation for learning to love without attachment. So when children leave, instead of feeling lost or sorrowful, let us see it as an opportunity to practice true love, free, expansive, and healing. Because when we love this way, we not only help our children find happiness but also free ourselves from the invisible chains of craving. Letting go is a journey that is not easy, especially when the object of letting go is those we love the most, our children. Because within our hearts, there are invisible bonds tightly tied by affection, responsibility, and the hopes we place upon them. Yet, it is this clinging that causes our suffering. The Dharma does not advise us to abandon love but to let go of craving within love. Craving is clinging, the desire to control, the fear of loss. Letting go does not mean completely releasing, but changing how we hold on, not by force, but with respect for our children's freedom and growth. The journey of letting go begins by clearly recognizing the emotions within ourselves. When we feel sadness, anger, or worry, do not reject or rationalize them away. Sit quietly and observe these feelings as guests who come to visit without judgment. Without resistance, when we courageously face our pain, we begin to liberate it, like sunlight piercing through the clouds. Wisdom illuminates misunderstandings and worries in our hearts. We realize that children are not our possessions, but independent beings with their own journeys and karmic paths. Letting go also means learning to forgive our children, forgive ourselves, and forgive life. Perhaps in the past, we held too many expectations, imposed too much, causing wounds unintentionally. Forgiveness is the door to freedom, a miracle that unties knots in the soul. The Dharma points out that each of us carries our own karma. Children come into our lives as causes and conditions, not to bring us suffering but to teach and help us grow. When we let go of pain, we give both ourselves and our children the chance to live in peace and freedom. The journey of letting go is not a straight path but one with ups and downs. Some days we feel light, others we feel lost. What matters is that we do not give up on ourselves, do not surrender, but patiently take each step with mindfulness and compassion. Mindfulness helps us live in the present, recognize and accept what is happening instead of running away or clinging to the past and future. Compassion helps us love not only ourselves but also our children, with all their imperfections and limitations. When we combine mindfulness and compassion in the journey of letting go, we will gradually see the pain fade, making room for peace and freedom. We no longer need to hold our children tightly at all costs. Instead, we offer a true, deep, and gentle love. This is liberation, freedom from the chains of craving, fear, and suffering. This is the true happiness that the Dharma wishes to give to every parent facing the departure of their children. In life, when children leave, loneliness and emptiness can easily flood the hearts of parents. It is at this time that we need to nurture loving kindness, metta, and compassion, karuna, to heal the deepest wounds within. The Dharma views loving kindness and compassion as sacred energies that can soothe all suffering and expand our hearts towards the world. Loving kindness, also called unconditional love, is the ability to accept and love all beings, including ourselves and our children, even when they disappoint us or leave. When we cultivate loving kindness, we no longer hold on to negative emotions such as anger, resentment, or sadness, but instead embrace forgiveness and generosity. Compassion helps us deeply empathize with the suffering of ourselves and our children. It allows us to see departure not merely as loss but as a part of life, a chance for children to grow and explore their true selves. Compassion enables us to stand beside our children with understanding and without judgment, creating a strong bond despite the distance. Developing loving kindness and compassion is not something achieved overnight. It is a continuous practice requiring patience and sincerity. Meditations such as Metta Bhavana and Karuna Bhavana are powerful tools that help us cultivate and enrich our hearts daily. When we sit in meditation practicing loving kindness, we send blessings and unconditional love to our children, whether they are near or far. We also embrace and love ourselves, accepting our own limitations and mistakes with gentleness and forgiveness. Over time, loving kindness and compassion become shields protecting us from storms of negative emotions, helping us maintain peace and mindfulness in life. This not only strengthens ourselves but also inspires and radiates positive energy to our children, even as they walk their own paths. When we love our children with loving kindness and compassion, we not only heal ourselves but also contribute to a better world where everyone can live freely, happily, and fully. This is the deepest meaning of learning to love without attachment, illuminated by the teachings of the Dharma. In the process of being parents, we often remain unaware of the invisible psychological bonds we carry. When children leave, these bonds become most apparent, causing pain and crisis in the soul. The Dharma teaches that all attachments arise from craving and ignorance, clinging and lack of understanding of the impermanent nature of life. We try to hold tightly to our children not because they belong to us, but because we fear loss, loneliness, and a life without meaning if they are not by our side. Recognizing these attachments is the first step toward liberating ourselves. When we become mindful of these invisible fears and expectations, we begin to gently and gradually let them go. This is not numb abandonment, but letting go with wisdom and compassion. We must also realize that attachment not only causes suffering for ourselves, but also unintentionally imprisons our children in an invisible cage, preventing them from soaring freely on their own path. The Dharma reminds us that freedom is the sacred right of every being, and only through freedom can children develop fully and find true happiness. Releasing psychological attachments means learning to accept the impermanence and non-fixed nature of all things, including the parent-child relationship. No one belongs to anyone. We are wholly unique conditions meeting in the present moment. Practicing mindfulness is an essential method to recognize existing attachments within the mind, creating a peaceful distance so we are not swept away by negative emotions. When we are mindful in every moment, we can choose wiser and more peaceful reactions. Moreover, learning and applying the Dharma teaching on no self, anatta, helps us understand that the self we cling to is not a fixed entity. When we let go of the fixed I, we realize the harmonious connection between ourselves and our children, no longer distinguishing subject and object, and thus love becomes free and serene. Psychological liberation is a journey requiring patience and courage. We may encounter old emotions and painful memories, but remember they are only passing clouds in the sky of the mind. With every recognition and release, we move closer to true freedom and peace. In spiritual life, letting go is not a loss, it is a noble form of love. When children leave, many parents feel empty, as though a piece of their soul has been taken away. But the truth is, nothing has been taken from us, it is merely the natural flow of life unfolding. Children grow up, mature, have dreams, journeys, and their own worries. If we keep clinging, love can slowly turn into a burden, a subtle form of control we may not even recognize. The Buddha taught, one who lives with a mind of letting go lives freely, like a cloud floating across the blue sky. Letting go does not mean abandoning responsibility or denying love, it means transforming it. We let go of fixed expectations, the belief that our children must follow our wishes, that they must always stay close, that their happiness must match our definition. When we let go in the right way, love becomes deeper. It is no longer a tugging rope, but a gently flowing river. We stop demanding that our children return, call every day, or do something to ease our loneliness. We love because we choose to love, not because we need something in return. We are fully present in each moment of thinking about them with no resentment, no guilt. Letting go is also a path to healing. When we release our attachment to the old image of our children, the image of a little one needing protection and guidance, we begin to see reality clearly. Our children are now grown individuals, capable of making choices, of failing, and of rising again. By letting go, we give them the right to be who they truly are. This is not easy. A parent's heart is tender and always wishes for the child's peace. But peace does not come from our children being by our side, it comes from our own inner attitude. We learn to sit calmly in the storm of emotion, to watch our longing, and to see that it too is just a passing cloud. Nothing lasts forever, not even loneliness. When we let go, a door opens, the door of freedom within the heart, where we no longer need our children to stay in order to feel whole. Letting go is the act of a strong spirit. It requires mindfulness and courage. but its reward is a purer, deeper, and more enduring love, a love without attachment, no longer confined by form or distance, but reaching into the very depths of the soul. Deep within the heart of every parent lies a boundless love for their children. However, when that love comes with conditions that the child must succeed, must live nearby, must follow a certain path, it begins to be distorted. We love our children, yet may make them feel suffocated. We worry for them, yet our concern becomes a silent pressure. The Buddha teaches that true love is unconditional, it seeks nothing in return. It is a love that listens, accepts, and allows the beloved to live in alignment with their true self. This love doesn't depend on achievements, frequency of phone calls, or physical closeness. It is pure, quiet, and deep. When children move away, it is a moment to examine the nature of our love. If we find ourselves upset because they call less often, or saddened because they don't share as much, it's not their fault. It is a sign that expectations and emotional dependence still reside within us. This is natural, nothing to be ashamed of, but by recognizing it, we open the door to transformation. Instead of wishing they would return to fill the emptiness, we can ask, have I loved myself enough? We can learn to return to ourselves, care for our own inner life, and nourish a peace that does not rely on external circumstances. When we are whole inside, the love we give becomes lighter, freer, no longer a demand. Unconditional love is the solid foundation for a mature relationship between parent and child. It is no longer a one-way exchange where parents always give and children always receive, but a connection based on respect, understanding, and trust. When children feel trusted and accepted, they naturally return, not out of obligation, but out of love. The Buddha said, "Love like the earth, give everything, expect nothing." This is love without discrimination, not confined by expectation. Such love holds immense healing power, not only for the children, but first and foremost for the soul of the parent. There is something many parents often forget. Before we were mothers or fathers, we were individuals with dreams, joys, passions, and perhaps unfinished aspirations. When our children were young, we poured our time, energy, and love into them. But one day, when they grow up and leave, we face an emptiness, not just the absence of our children, but the absence of ourselves. Buddhist teachings do not ask us to give up love, they teach us to expand it. And that expansion begins with returning to love ourselves. This is not selfishness. Loving oneself means nurturing the soul, caring for the body, and preserving spiritual well-being. It is a conscious return to one's own presence, not seeking our worth through our children's needs, but recognizing our own being as something precious. Many people, only in old age, begin to ask, who am I now that I'm no longer parenting every day? That question is not easy, but it is necessary. For in rediscovering ourselves, we begin to live fully in the present. We can learn something new, rediscover joy in art, gardening, or gentle conversations. We can connect with others, perform small acts of kindness, or simply learn to sit quietly with our breath, smiling to ourselves. The Buddha taught, no one can love you more than you can love yourself. This is not an indulgence of ego, but the solid foundation for healthy relationships. When we love ourselves, we no longer expect others to fill our emptiness. When we cherish life in every moment, the presence of our children becomes a sweet blessing, not necessity. True love doesn't arise from exhausting sacrifice, it flows from inner wholeness. A joyful mother or father is the greatest gift children can receive. Whether near or far, when we love ourselves, we stop worrying excessively or pushing our children to live as we wish. Because we understand, every person has their own path to walk, their own lessons to learn. Loving ourselves is also a way to honor life. We no longer feel useless when our children no longer need us. Because we know, our value does not lie in someone depending on us, but in our mindfulness in every action, every thought, every word. And in this gentle, unconditional, unbound love, we rediscover the deepest peace. When one door closes, another opens. But perhaps the most difficult moment is the space in between, where we feel unsteady, nostalgic, and not yet ready to move forward. So it is when our children leave, a chapter of life ends. Yet this ending is not a loss if we learn to let go in the right way. The Buddha teaches that everything in life is impermanent. Children come to us like precious guests. They stay for a time and then leave to follow their own path. Parenthood is a blessing, but it is not the entirety of who we are. When we cling to what is ready to transform, we create suffering. When we release with trust, we open ourselves to spiritual growth. Letting go does not mean abandoning love. On the contrary, letting go is a profound act of love. It's when we tell our children, "I trust you. Live your life in the way you choose. I will always be here." With an open heart, this understanding lightens the hearts of both generations. And when love is no longer chained by fear or expectation, it can truly bloom. The moment we accept change is the moment we become free from the illusion of control. Free from the belief that our worth depends on someone's presence. Free to live each day fully, with gratitude and simple joy. We begin to care for our own soul again, nurture new connections, and find meaning in stillness and the small things. Parenthood does not end when our children move away. It simply shifts into a new form where love is rooted in freedom and mindfulness. We are no longer guides, but quiet supports. We don't need to say much just to be. And sometimes, that silent presence is the most precious gift we can offer. The end of one journey is not the closing of the heart. It is the opening of a new chapter, lighter, deeper. Our children may no longer be the center of our lives, but the love remains unbound, unpossessive. In that letting go, we touch a higher form of love, a love that does not need to hold on. Because nothing is ever truly lost in this universe. It only changes form. Smile and step forward. Our children have their lives, and so do we, in the light of mindfulness, understanding, and compassion. Separation is not the end. It is the doorway to a new beginning for us, for them, and for a love that knows no limits.